Hey there, folks, and welcome to Cheating Storytelling. Picture this. I laid eyes on that newborn baby, and my jaw just about hit the floor. The kid didn't even look like he belonged to my race. I mean, talk about a gut punch. My heart dropped right into my boots. Today, I'm here to spill the beans about how I found out my wife had been unfaithful. Yep, it all came crashing down the moment her baby popped into the world. So, let's dive into this wild ride of a tale. Back when my wife hit the 7-month mark of her pregnancy, we were over the moon. The doc told us we had a little boy on the way, and man, we were pumped. We threw a baby shower, nothing fancy, just some cake, games, and a bunch of blue balloons, and started getting everything ready for the newest member of our crew. With our 5-year-old son already running around the house, we figured we'd dust off some of his old stuff, crib, clothes, that sort of thing, and put it to good use again. Life felt pretty sweet, like we were building something solid as a family. Then came the big day, Labor Day, round 2 for us. I was right there by my wife's side in the delivery room, no rookie to this whole scene since I'd been through it 6 years back with our first kid. Holding her hand, watching her grit her teeth through the pain, it all felt familiar. But looking back, I'd already started wondering about that firstborn of ours as he got older. Something nagged at me. Did he really look like he was mine? Even with those doubts creeping in, I'd been over the moon when he arrived. After all, I tied the knot with my best buddy, the gal I figured I'd spend forever with. At 30 years old, I've got a pretty good setup going. My wife's 28, and we've been hitched for 6 years now. We hit it off fast after meeting at a park, total chance encounter, and before long, we were inseparable. She got pregnant with our son not long after we started getting serious, and back then, cheating didn't even cross my mind. I mean, why would it? We were tight, or so I thought. Life was rolling along smooth as butter on a hot biscuit. But as our little guy grew up, I couldn't shake this weird vibe. He just didn't look like me, not one bit. The older he got, the more I noticed how his face didn't match mine or anyone else in my family. I've got nieces and nephews, and my wife's got her own crew of little relatives. But our son? He didn't seem to take after my side at all. It started eating at me, you know? And then there was my wife's behavior, little things that didn't add up. Her schedule got patchy sometimes, and she'd head out the door with these vague excuses about where she was off to. I tried not to overthink it, but it stuck with me. One time really got under my skin. She told me she was popping over to the hospital to visit a friend who'd been admitted. I even left work early that day to take over from the babysitter, wanted to be a good husband, right? But then I scrolled through social media later and saw that same friend posting pics from some sunny vacation spot. No hospital bed in sight. That hit me like a slap in the face. Still, I shoved it down deep and kept going, figuring I'd deal with it later. Fast forward to the delivery room for kid number 2. There I was, clutching my wife's hand tight as she powered through the contractions. The air was thick with tension and excitement. This was supposed to be it, the moment our second boy joined the team. The nurses and staff were buzzing around, telling her when to breathe, keeping her steady, and I was right there cheering her on. You got this, babe, I kept saying, trying to stay strong for her. Every second burned itself into my brain, the pain on her face, the beeping machines, the staff gearing up for the final push. And then, that first cry rang out, sharp and loud, cutting through all the noise. But when I finally got a good look at him, man, my head started spinning. Something was off, way off. The baby didn't look like he came from me. His skin tone, his features, they screamed mixed race, and I'm standing there like, hold up, what's going on here? It was bizarre. Most of the medical team just carried on like it was no big deal, all smiles and routine. Except the doctor. That guy locked eyes with me for a split second, and I swear he gave me this look, like he was sizing me up, double-checking who I was, before he snapped back to business mode. That glance? It was like a dagger, slicing right through the fog of doubt I'd been wrestling with for years. That moment flipped my world upside down. I've been through some rough stuff, but this topped even the birth of our first kid in terms of pure shock. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been played. The baby's race was staring me in the face, plain as day, and it didn't match up with me. Meanwhile, everyone else in the room acted like it was just another Tuesday, nurses chatting, my wife catching her breath, the whole scene rolling on like normal. I was frozen, stuck in my own head, while her grip on my hand tightened. My chest felt like it was caving in, the walls closing around me. Once the medical team cleared out, leaving us alone, I finally snapped out of it. I wanted to confront her right then and there, demand answers, get the truth out in the open. But she was wiped out, eyes half closed from the exhaustion of pushing a human into the world. I couldn't do it, not yet. Instead, I turned on my heel and walked out of that hospital. Didn't stick around to help her, didn't lift a finger, I just couldn't. Her family swooped in to take care of her and the baby, getting them home while I stayed clear. Signing that birth certificate? Not a chance. I couldn't even look at it. Some folks in her family think I'm the bad guy for bailing like that. They don't know the half of it. They don't know she's the one who stepped out on me. That's the kicker, right? I'm carrying this weight, this betrayal, and they're out there judging me like I'm the jerk. But standing in that delivery room, staring at a kid who couldn't possibly be mine, I knew the truth. My best friend, my wife, had shattered everything I thought we had. And that's where this story really starts to heat up. Hey folks, welcome back to this messed up tale of mine. Not long after that delivery room bombshell, I made up my mind to get some answers. I ordered a DNA test for my 5-year-old son, had to know the truth once and for all. The day those results landed in my hands was the same day I decided enough was enough. I filed for separation from what I now saw as a total sham of a marriage. While my wife was still resting up from giving birth, I handed her the divorce papers, cold, sure, but I was done pretending. My mom and sister had been there helping her get out of the hospital, and when they saw those papers, they lost it. They turned on me like a pair of guard dogs, following me around the house, yelling in my face. "Deadbeat," they shouted. "Irresponsible jerk of a father." I could tell they were trying to push my buttons, hoping I'd snap and give them something to use against me in court. But I wasn't playing that game. I kept my cool, even as they trailed me from room to room, itching for a fight. Up until that point, I'd been all in as a dad to that little boy. I loved him with everything I had, 6 years of pouring my heart into being his father. But now, looking at him just twists my gut. It's not even about him. It's the sting of those wasted years, the regret of not listening to that quiet voice in my head that kept whispering something was off. Now, here I am, left with next to nothing, starting over from scratch. People out there are quick to slap a monster label on me for walking away from my son, but they don't know the full picture. I grabbed a few shirts and jeans, stuffed them in a bag, and checked into one of those extended stay hotels, you know, the kind with a little kitchenette and a lumpy bed. I was just killing time until I could lock down an apartment. Everything else, furniture, dishes, the whole life we'd built, I left behind with her. She'd chipped in for some of it, sure, but I didn't care. I wanted a clean break, nothing from that old life to drag her memory along with me. Even after I disappeared to the hotel, she didn't know where I'd gone, but that didn't stop her from trying to reel me back in. She'd blow up my phone with guilt trips, laying it on thick about how I was ruining everything. The worst part? She started getting our 5-year-old to call me middle of the night, his little voice sobbing, begging daddy to come home. It was a cheap, cruel trick, like she hadn't already twisted the knife deep enough. She kept hammering me with how I was tearing the family apart, like I was the bad guy here. Every time our son came up, whether it was in a text, a call, or some online chat, I'd get an earful. People shamed me, tore me down, acting like I betrayed him. And yeah, I'm not his biological dad, the DNA test proved it, but I was his father in every way that mattered. I raised him, loved him, tucked him in at night. That's what makes this so brutal. Her cheating didn't just wreck our marriage, it overshadowed every good thing I'd built with that kid. She'd been stepping out on me the whole time we were together, chipping away at the trust until there was nothing left. To pile it on, she got our mutual friends to turn on me. They'd gang up, calling me a lowlife for abandoning the boy. I ended up cutting ties with most of them, didn't need that noise in my life. My parents and siblings, though, they've had my back. They get how messy this is, especially since they'd grown close to her son too, babysitting, playing with him, treating him like one of their own. Their support means a lot, but it doesn't wipe away the hurt or the confusion swirling in my head. What gets me is how some folks, friends, family, whoever, act like my feelings don't count for anything. They keep telling me to suck it up, to keep being a dad to a kid who isn't mine, even after the DNA test laid it out in black and white. The pressure's heavy, like I'm supposed to just shrug off her betrayal and play the part anyway. It ticks me off that nobody seems to care how I'm holding up, like my pain doesn't register. I've started to see it clear as day. A lot of people think I should bury my hurt, ignore how she humiliated me, and keep showing up for a child born from her lies. They throw stuff at me like, "You never really loved him," or "You were just waiting for an excuse to bolt." That junk weighs me down even more. The idea that I'm expected to stay in this father role while we're slogging through a divorce, and while I'm trying to legally undo my paternity, it's too much. Her cheating, her lies, the way she used me, it's taken a toll I can't even put into words. I've still got my own life to live, my own heart to patch up. Don't get me wrong, I love that kid like he's my own. I always will in some way. But pretending everything's fine, acting like I can keep being his dad when the truth is out, it's getting harder every day. This isn't about ditching an innocent little boy. It's about me facing reality and taking my life back after she blew it apart. I need to make one thing crystal clear. I don't blame him. Not 1 ounce of this is his fault. He's just a kid caught up in her mess. It's tough, you know, wrestling with all this. I spent 6 years being his rock, and now I'm stuck wondering where I fit. People want me to keep playing the hero, but they don't see how deep those cuts go. How it feels to find out your whole world was built on quicksand. I'm not walking away because I hate him or because I'm some selfish jerk. I'm doing it because I've got to figure out who I am after all this. The divorce is rolling forward, and I'm pushing to get my name off that birth certificate. It's not about erasing him. It's about me finally standing up for myself. Hey everyone, welcome back to the final piece of this crazy story. That little boy, he's just a kid caught in the crossfire of his mom's choices, and it breaks my heart to think about what he's going through. I feel this heavy sadness whenever he crosses my mind. None of this is his fault. But every time I see his face, it's like a floodgate opens, and I'm slammed with the truth of those 6 years I lived in the dark. The betrayal, the lies, It all comes rushing back, and I can't dodge it. This whole mess ain't easy for me to handle, and no matter how hard I try, I can't just shove my hurt and anger aside to keep playing a part that was never real to begin with. The life I thought I had with him, it was all smoke and mirrors, something his mom cooked up to keep me fooled. That stings deep, and I've hit a point where I can't carry that weight anymore. For his sake and mine, I've made up my mind to push for a disestablishment of paternity, legally cut those ties that were built on her deception. It's got me wondering, though, why isn't she out there hunting down his real dad? She knows who he is, I'm sure of it. To me, that'd make a heck of a lot more sense than clinging to this tangled mess she's made. But nope, she's digging in her heels, fighting the divorce tooth and nail, and now she's after child support, too. It's crystal clear she wants me stuck in this web of lies she spun, even after everything's come crashing down. My lawyer's been a lifeline through this. He tells me there's a solid shot I won't have to pay child support. Other cases in our state have gone that way when the kid's not biologically yours. That's a relief to hear, but the not knowing still gnaws at me, adding another layer of stress to this pile. Truth is, though, the money's not what keeps me up at night. What really gets me is the fear she'll keep using that little boy as a weapon against me. I still care about him. Always will in some way. But I've got to move on, start fresh, and leave this chapter behind. Owning up to this giant mistake I fell into hurts like crazy. The years I poured in, the emotional scars I'm left with, I know I'll never get those back fully. But stepping forward feels like the only path that makes sense for both of us. This whole ordeal's a tangled, gut-wrenching mess, no two ways about it. Paternity fraud's a touchy subject. It flips lives upside down and leaves families reeling. The legal side of cutting paternity ties? That depends on where you're at. Some places let you do it under the right conditions, even if the real dad's not in the picture or signing off. But here's the kicker. The system's shifted hard toward putting the kid's needs first, even if it means steamrolling the guy who's been stuck with the bill, literally and figuratively. It's like that scene in the Titanic movie, you know? Women and children get the lifeboats, and the men are left treading water. Family courts can feel that way sometimes, and it's tough to swallow. As a guy, it can hit you like you're disposable, like the law's saying, hey, you're on the hook for this, even if you didn't sign up for it. That's a hard pill to choke down. I heard something wild the other day. Did you know France flat out bans paternity tests unless a court says otherwise? They're all about keeping family peace, but it makes you wonder, what about a person's right to know the truth about their own blood? It's a messy debate, ethics, laws, society all crashing together. Where do you draw the line between protecting folks and giving them the freedom to face reality? At the root of it, though, I keep coming back to one thing. Choice. Relationships run on trust, and when that gets torched by cheating, both people ought to have the say-so to figure out what's next. Nobody should be forced into a corner, stuck living a lie just because it's easier for someone else. For me, her betrayal shredded everything we had, and I deserve to call the shots on what's best for my life moving forward. This story's bigger than just me. It's a wake-up call about how muddy paternity fraud can get, how we need to talk more about trust and relationships, and what rights everybody's got when the dust settles. It's heavy stuff, and it takes a lot of heart to sift through it with fairness for everyone involved. So that's where I'm at, trying to climb out of this hole and find some solid ground again. It's not about pointing fingers or playing the victim. It's about me figuring out how to heal and keep going. I'd love to hear what you all think about this. Have you been through something similar? Got any takes on how the system handles these situations? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm all ears. This whole experience has taught me one thing for sure. Life's too short to stay trapped in someone else's mess. Time to take the wheel and steer my own course.